Sometimes life gives us moments that are hard to explain. The Kerr County flood is one of those moments. It's beyond tragic, and those who have survived they have an emotional hill to climb, let me just be honest. And surprisingly, guilt may be part of that journey. So we asked Trauma Therapy North Dallas owner and certified therapist Renee Austin to share how survivors can release that guilt and start moving forward, which I'm sure is a tough path. Good morning to you.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So glad to have you here. Can you tell me exactly, and break it down for everybody, what exactly survivor's guilt is?
Survivor's guilt is a psychological term that's used to describe emotional distress when we've survived something and others have not.
I think that's difficult because of the simple fact that you have this feeling of, oh my goodness, I'm glad that I made it out, or I'm glad I survived this, but then you look back and you realize, oh my gosh, I might be one of the very few that have gone through this. So that's really difficult. People usually, like I said, are relieved. So how does that guilt start to creep in?
I think once the initial shock subsides, you're left with possibly replaying the incident, and it can be a mixture of guilt and shame, anxiety, and even anger turned inward.
Oh wow, like almost anger at yourself, like how did I get here? Why am I here?
Why
There's a lot
me?
of questions.
And not others.
My goodness. Okay, so social media plays a huge part in, I think, a lot of things, especially when it comes to a national tragedy that everybody knows about. And most people have good intentions. Not everybody does, though. Some people leave nasty comments that are just not necessary or needed. And so how do survivors tend to, or how can they block out all of the noise that is happening around them? Because this is reality for them, whereas for everybody else, it's a news headline.
Yeah, I think just you have to treat it like spam in your junk mailbox and block accounts, delete comments. You don't owe a performative explanation to others. Your job is just to be authentic through the process.
Yes, indeed.
You don't have to explain yourself.
And I think that's all you can do is be authentic to yourself and carry yourself through it the most, because I mean, literally there's tons of people watching, but at the end of the day, what is their opinion in comparison to your mental health and you getting through the situation that you're going through? And
it's easy to sit behind a computer screen when you haven't been there and type a bunch of comments.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so tell me, what are some ways that if someone's experiencing this, maybe it's not the floods, maybe it's something totally different that they're going through, how can they start to overcome that survivor's guilt? Are there any steps that they can maybe take?
Yeah, I think we see this a lot with other traumatic events like cancer, other illnesses, even domestic violence, any traumatic event. And I think make sure you're seeing a trauma-informed therapist, because we know that talk therapy is not nearly as effective.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, I think we learned something this morning in that for sure.
Yeah, and there's a lot of exciting things happening with trauma therapy right now. We have EMDR, which helps you process traumatic events and get you out of a stuck state. We have parts work, we have ART, which is a visual kind of fun way of processing trauma, and even using psychedelics like CAP or ketamine assisted psychotherapy can help change your brain's neural network.
Wow. Okay, so there sounds like there's plenty of options for people to choose from, which is so amazing, because you're right. Everybody's not the same, and so everybody's trauma also looks a bit different as well. How can family and friends, maybe if they haven't reached out to that therapist just yet, but they're leaning on loved ones for that support, how can loved ones keep them upright? Any advice for them?
Yeah, I think just being willing to be there and be present. Avoid saying things like, you're so lucky you made it out, and just let them know you're there and that you understand it's a difficult experience.
Yes, indeed. Children were involved in this specific tragedy in the floods, and so tell me, they lost friends, they lost siblings, and so what are maybe some signs parents should be on the lookout for that their child might be experiencing some of this guilt?
Children and PTSD often looks like regression. So bedwetting, clinginess, not wanting to do things that they normally want to do.
Interesting. Okay, so basically keep an eye out for any changes in your child whatsoever, and if it looks positive or negative almost, right? Just look for changes in general.
Right, and you know your child best. If you're seeing something that's there that wasn't there before, please get them to a trauma-informed play therapist.
Yes, that's so important. Okay, I'm so glad that you reiterated trauma. Trauma is so important when it comes to picking that therapist. This was really good tips this morning, especially as people are still going through this. I know it's been more than a week now, and sometimes people tend to forget, and that's why it's so important to have these conversations so that we don't forget. Tell me, where can people find you if they need more tips or even more help, or they're looking for a trauma therapist? artist?
Yes, we're at traumatherapynorthdallas.com. Wherever you are in the state of Texas, we can see you virtually, or if you're here in the North Dallas area, we can see you in person.
Very, very good. Well, thank you so much for being here this morning, still giving light to this topic and making sure that everyone out there in the community has the support that they need. So
Thank you
really
for having
appreciate
me.
you.